This is Adam Taxin doing a High 95 radio supplement with Daniel Greenfield about his Saturday late night, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo column Niggas, that's with an A, not an ER, Niggas in Paris. Daniel, first of all, can you recap for Americans who are not following the French presidential election, can you just recap what's going on?
Basically, we've got a showdown between the semi-conservative candidate and the socialist candidate, with the socialist candidate favored to win. But the big question is the Le Pen vote, which is likely to be the big determiner here. And if they actually do come out for Sarkozy, which is what Sarkozy is gambling on, then he might actually end up winning.
Why would anyone who supports Le Pen not vote for Sarkozy?
Because Sarkozy is really not all that different, because while he talks tough about immigration and Islamic extremism during the election, his actual policies once in office are a whole other story. So, I mean, Marine Le Pen has repeatedly said that there's no real difference between them. Obviously, she does need to say that, because otherwise why vote for her? But it's actually a legitimate point, because really Sarkozy is not that different.
Tell us a little bit about Francois Hollande, the people who don't really know who he is.
Well, the wacky thing that happened with the French election is something that Americans had a front seat to when Dominique Strauss-Kahn was caught in a New York hotel room, raising all sorts of implications. He did get off on that charge, but since then he's sunk into a whole other range of charges back in France, which Americans aren't really following, but is made him persona non grata. In any case, he was supposed to be the front-runner candidate for the Socialist Party. Obviously, that's done for. So you had a party guy step up, who's a fairly bland character, but is being talked up by the media, and he's running on the usual Obama kind of platform of higher taxes, soak the rich, and roll back all the financial reforms.
Now, is it just me, or does Hollande actually in the video seem almost hilariously ironic, almost bringing to mind Herb from the 1980s Burger King commercials, just he's so nondescript?
That's exactly it, except with more of a hip-hop soundtrack.
Yeah, it seems almost like inadvertently hilarious. Now, speaking of
multicultural King Herb.
Yeah. Speaking of the video itself, you said that the actual Kanye West and Jay-Z video, which of course has a title that would be semi-racist if it's a non-black using it, that it's actually a pretty good metaphor for the campaign and what's going on, the Hollande campaign in France today.
You've got a middle-class black rapper pretending to be ghetto, and you've got Hollande, the middle-class civil servant who dragged himself up to the top, mainly by opportunism, who's now pretending to be a revolutionary.
And you also talk a lot about the nation of Qatar in there, and most people don't associate Qatar with France, but perhaps they should, because it will be a trend in the future.
That's not just France. They're also very big. There was a recent article on how much of the financial institutions in London they've bought up. They're unfortunately all over. But they've bought up a lot of French politicians. They've bought big into Europe in general. They're buying up financial institutions. They're making close connections with politicians. So, for example, they're exempt from capital gains tax in France. That was a deal that they made with Sarkozy.
I see. Now, is it fair to even talk about, is it fair to describe France these days as a colony of Qatar or the Arab world in general? And how about much of Europe, much of what we consider Western Europe?
France is definitely ahead in that regard, because they've got the population, their political class, despite the occasional imperialistic pretensions, Sarkozy's Mediterranean alliance, is increasingly having their decisions made as there. If you think about the recent Libyan conflict, France was the first on board that. It got England on board, and then it got and then both of them got the United States on board, and that was the big thing. That if you watch Al Jazeera, that was something they were pushing in Al Jazeera, is the Al Thani's royal family's propaganda channel.
Final question is. Have you, well, maybe not the final question, depending how you answer. Have you ever read The Camp of the Saints? I finished it a few weeks ago, and it seems like a good metaphor for what's actually going on. Obviously not with people coming in ships and not with Hindus taking over, but are you familiar with the book?
I am. and yes, it is a good metaphor. Actually, people are coming in ships into Italy, definitely. European refugees, African refugees have been coming in ships to the Isle of Lampedusa, I believe in Italy. So they actually are coming in boats. And if anything, the Council of the Saints didn't go far enough because it really didn't understand the amount of influence that would also be coming with it. They just saw the immigration.
All right,
this is a two-sided coin. There's the immigration and there's the political influence.
All right, Daniel Greenfield, current column, or Sunday, or Saturday night, May 5th, Sunday, May 6th column, Niggas in Paris. Thank you, and people can find your stuff on sultanknish.blogspot.com.